Hi, and welcome back. If you're here, chances are you're feeling stuck in a relationship where one of you craves more closeness while the other pulls away. Or maybe you're the one feeling smothered by your partner's need for connection. Either way, you're in the right place. Because today, we're sharing the 7 steps you can take right now to break free from the anxious avoidant trap.
But before we jump in, we have a quick request for those of you who have been watching and engaging with our content. Stay with us until the end today because we have an important question just for you. But first, let's dive right into what you came here for because we value your time and want you to get exactly what you need. Let's quickly go over why the anxious avoidant dynamic happens. Anxious partners crave closeness and reassurance because they fear being abandoned. This often starts in childhood when caregivers are inconsistent, sometimes responding with love and comfort, other times being unavailable or dismissive. As a result, the child learns to be hyper aware of any sign that their caregiver, and later their romantic partner, might pull away. Their need for connection becomes heightened as a way to keep the relationship secure. Avoidant partners, on the other hand, prioritize independence and can feel smothered by too much emotional closeness. This usually stems from growing up with emotionally distant or highly critical caregivers who discouraged emotional expression. They may have been taught, either directly or indirectly, that needing support was a sign of weakness and that being strong meant handling things alone. When these two attachment styles come together, it creates a push pull cycle. The more the anxious partner seeks connection, the more the avoidant partner withdraws. And this only reinforces both of their fears, making the cycle even harder to break. The good news is, all is not hopeless. While attachment styles tend to be stable, they can change with effort and intentional work. So let's get into it.
The first thing we want you to do is think of someone you know or have seen, like a friend or a family member who has a strong, loving relationship. Use them as an example of what a healthy, secure relationship looks like. This can help you understand what to aim for in your own relationships. And if you don't know anyone personally in a secure relationship, you can draw inspiration from books, TV shows, or a combination of different sources.
Here are some examples you may draw inspiration from. You may admire a couple who uses humor to navigate conflict instead of fighting. Another relationship you respect might involve partners who support each other's dreams, working as a team to overcome obstacles. Or maybe a colleague has shown you what healthy communication looks like, approaching disagreements with curiosity and openness rather than defensiveness. These models can help you identify the kind of relationship you want to build and what secure attachment behaviors look like in action.
In the book Attached, Levine and Heller gave a great example of our relationship with our pets serving as a secure model. So they reflected on how our pets can do all sorts of frustrating things, such as when our cats get the zoomies in the middle of the night, or our dog Cassidy wakes us up early when we're wanting to sleep in. But we overlook these behaviors and still feel positively toward them. So, reading this example made me laugh, but it also made me reflect because I have misophonia. And if you've never heard of this, it's a strong emotional reaction to specific sounds that most people don't even notice. So, for example, someone with misophonia might get angry when they hear sounds like chewing or tapping or breathing. Though
Or
anger
existing.
Anger probably isn't even the right word for it. It is an intense emotional response, kind of like rage. So for me, my misophonia is triggered when I hear loud mouth noises, such as swallowing. So if Joel does this, he gets the look. But when our dog Cassidy does it, I think it's the cutest thing ever. Luckily, the strong negative reaction is brief, and I can let it go after I give the disapproving look. And then, since humor is a big part of our relationship and
Yeah.
how we repair upsets between us, we both end up laughing at the ridiculousness of my strong reaction. But misophonia is real. But enough about my issues. That's not what you're here for. So, back to it. Let's look at the thoughts, feelings, and actions that stand in the way of you becoming more secure.
Now that you've created a vision for what a healthy, secure relationship looks like, it's important that we begin to break down our old, insecure relationship experiences. We do this by reviewing our past and present relationships from the perspective of what we now know about attachment theory and our attachment styles. Levine and Heller created a 7 step relationship inventory to help with this. Step one is to list out the names of all of your romantic partners, both past and present.
In step two, for each partner listed, you will write out everything you can remember about the relationship. What recurring patterns are you noticing?
Step three is to think about moments where your emotions made you either cling to someone or push them away. If you're anxious, you might try to get close by texting repeatedly or seeking reassurance. This is called activation. If you're avoidant, you might feel overwhelmed and create distance by ignoring messages or shutting down emotionally. This is deactivation.
Step four is about how you reacted to these situations. What did you do, think, and feel? Let's break that down. First, what did you do? If you're anxious, did you attempt to get your partner to pay attention to you through yelling, constant texting, or manipulation? If you're avoidant, did you act with disdain towards your partner by rolling your eyes or crossing your arms, turning your back towards them, or outright leaving? Two, what were you thinking? If you're anxious, were you thinking, I have to talk to them right now to fix this? Or perhaps, I'll never find anyone else. If you're avoidant, maybe you were thinking, I am so sick and tired of their neediness. It's never easy with them. They always want more, 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 and I just need to get out of here. And three, how did you feel? As an anxious partner, did you feel sad, scared, hopeless, restless, rejected, unloved? As an avoidant partner, did you feel pressured, resentful, aloof, empty, or self righteous?
Now that you've identified your reaction, step five is about stepping back and understanding how your attachment style influenced your response. Ask yourself, if you have anxious attachment, did your need for reassurance unintentionally push your partner away? For example, did you engage in activation strategies, things like over-texting, over-analyzing, or convincing yourself that this person is your only chance at love? Sometimes anxious attachment tricks us into mistaking intensity for love, leading to an emotional roller coaster where the highs and lows feel addictive. If you have avoidant attachment, did you use deactivation strategies to create distance instead of expressing your needs? This might look like suppressing feelings, mentally checking out, or idealizing past or imaginary relationships like the one to avoid deepening your current connection. Recognizing these patterns helps you see that your response wasn't just about the situation. It was shaped by deep seated attachment habits. The more you can separate past fears from present reality, the easier it becomes to make secure, intentional choices in your relationships.
In step six, you will consider the ways in which your reactions that you identified in step five hurt you and get in the way of your happiness.
Step seven, our final step, is about finding new, secure ways to handle these situations. Think back to the secure relationship model you identified earlier and ask yourself, what would they do in this situation? How would they approach the problem? What advice would they give me if they knew I was struggling with this? From these reflections, you might decide 1. I want to engage securely with my partner by hearing the longing behind their complaint. So, if my partner is complaining that I don't text them, the longing under that complaint is that they're wanting to connect with me. 2. I'm going to be present and available. 3. I'll use humor and embrace the joy in our relationship. And 4. Here's a big one. I'll choose to see myself as responsible for my partner's well being. And that last one might surprise you. In recent years, we've been taught that feeling responsible for a partner's well being is called being codependent. But attachment research shows that secure partners do feel responsible for each other's emotional well being. This doesn't mean neglecting your own needs, it means recognizing that small acts of love and support create a strong foundation. A securely attached relationship acts as a safe home base, making it easier to navigate life's challenges. When you know you have a partner who loves and truly cares about your happiness, it strengthens both of you.
So, now that you've completed your relationship inventory, what's next? When I help my clients create their relationship vision, I encourage them to share their must haves and deal breakers with me and a trusted friend. This adds accountability whether they're just starting to date or in an already established relationship. When I know their vision, I can help them recognize when their needs aren't being met or their boundaries are being crossed. And together, we decide how they want to respond. I encourage you to do the same with your relationship attachment inventory. If you're working with a therapist, especially one familiar with attachment theory, share it with them. They can help you identify old patterns that you may be repeating, such as activation or deactivation strategies, and guide you toward new, secure ways of responding. And if therapy isn't an option, reach out to a trusted friend. Talking through your insights with someone who understands and supports your growth can make a huge difference. All right, so now we're going to demonstrate this in action. I'm going to take the role of the anxiously attached partner, which isn't a far stretch given my background. And Joel will play the role of an avoidantly attached partner.
Together, we'll walk you through how each of us might use the 7 step model in real time. So, listen as we each share our perspectives on a frustrating situation and how it plays out through the lens of attachment. Here's the scenario. It's a busy workday, and Trina's texted me several times, but I don't respond right away. Hours go by, and as the notifications pile up, I start feeling overwhelmed. Instead of responding, I ignore my phone, thinking, I'll deal with this later. But later that night, after a long day, I still feel drained. So I decide to decompress alone and continue avoiding my phone.
Meanwhile, I'm feeling anxious, wondering why Joel hasn't responded. As the night goes on, I start spiraling, thinking Joel's upset with me and pulling away. So I send him one final emotional text demanding an explanation. Let's walk through how we'd each complete the 7 step inventory based on this situation.
At this point, I feel even more trapped and pressured, so I completely shut down and don't respond until the next morning.
Let's walk through how we'd each complete the 7 step inventory based on this situation. Step 1, I write down Joel as my partner. Step 2, Joel often doesn't respond to my texts immediately or sometimes at all. When that happens, I start feeling insecure and uncertain about how he feels about me. Joel's a priority to me, so when I see a text from him, I respond right away, and I wish he'd do the same. There are so many times I've reached out for reassurance, but I felt brushed aside or outright ignored. Step 3, not getting a response from Joel all day triggered my activation strategies, making me crave closeness and reassurance. I tried to get it by texting him more, hoping he'd finally reply. Step 4, thoughts. Why isn't Joel responding? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? I felt anxious. My stomach was tense. I felt rejected and desperate for reassurance. My actions? Well, I sent multiple texts, overanalyzed the situation, and grew more desperate. And eventually, I sent an emotional text demanding attention. Step 5. Well, I guess my fear of abandonment was driving my reaction. I wasn't texting out of a logical decision to do so. I was texting to soothe my anxiety in the moment. Step 6. Well, I guess by repeatedly texting and demanding a response, I actually made myself feel worse. Instead of creating connection, I pushed Joel further away and reinforced this anxious avoidance cycle. Step 7. I think about my friend Casey, who's really secure in relationships. Casey's taught me to self soothe when I start spiraling. Instead of texting impulsively, I decide to take deep breaths before reaching for my phone. Remind myself that Joel needing space doesn't mean he's rejecting me. Talk with Joel about establishing a communication plan that works for both of us.
Step 1, I write down Tarina as my partner. For step 2, when Tarina texts me a lot during the day, I feel pressured. It seems like she constantly needs reassurance, and my gut reaction is to pull away rather than tell her how I'm feeling. In step 3, I write, receiving multiple texts throughout the day triggered my deactivation strategies, meaning I shut down and created emotional distance. For step 4, my thoughts are, this is too much if I respond right now. It'll turn into a long conversation, and I don't have the energy for that. I'm feeling pressured, frustrated, and emotionally drained. The actions I went through were I ignored my messages and avoided my phone altogether. for step 5, avoiding Trina didn't actually solve anything. It actually made things worse. I see that my instinct to pull away only increased her anxiety and caused more conflict. And for step 6, I write, by shutting down, I prevent real intimacy and reinforce Trina's fears, which keeps us both stuck in this unhealthy cycle. And for step 7, I think about my sibling Sam, who has a really secure relationship. A couple weeks ago, when he was out at a restaurant with us, his wife texted, and he immediately pulled out his phone and sent a message saying, "Hey, I'm out with the guys. I'll call you as soon as I leave." He responds with warmth and clarity early on to prevent escalation. So, based on that model, I decided to 1, communicate my need for space in a reassuring way instead of going silent. 2, say something like, "I'm really busy today, but I'll check in later." And 3, offer small, consistent reassurances instead of withdrawing completely.
After completing our inventory separately, we come together and share our perspectives. Joel explains that he does care and think about me throughout the day, but that he gets immersed in work and struggles with back and forth texting. I share that when I don't hear from him, I start feeling anxious and assume he's pulling away.
Rather than blaming each other, we problem solve together. We decide that moving forward, I'll send a simple quick text saying busy now. I'll respond later. And Trina will practice self soothing instead of texting repeatedly.
By using the 7 step inventory, we're able to shift to more secure
Mhm.
attachment behaviors, reducing anxiety and emotional distance in our relationship.
Unfortunately, we know that not every partner will be ready or willing to work on the relationship in this way. And here's how to handle it.
We can set boundaries, communicate what's acceptable and what's not for our emotional well being.
Focus on self growth. Learn secure behaviors for yourself, even if your partner isn't ready to meet you halfway. We created a video on how to do this, which we'll link in the description below.
And finally, know when to walk away. If the relationship remains unfulfilling despite your best efforts, consider whether staying aligns with your relationship vision. And if you haven't created this for yourself yet, our free must haves and deal breakers workbook is linked in the description. We also created a video talking you through how to use our workbook and create your own relationship vision. It will also be linked below.
Breaking free from the anxious avoidant trap is challenging but rewarding. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but progress. By understanding each other's needs, talking through misunderstandings, and committing to personal growth, you create a relationship where both partners feel secure and valued.
So today we covered all 7 steps of how to break free from the anxious avoidant trap. But perhaps there are specific steps you would like us to break down further in a standalone video. If so, let us know in the comments. And this is the part of the video we asked you to stay for. What other topics related to healthy relationships would you like us to cover? We started our YouTube journey 6 months ago with one mission: to help more people build healthier, happier relationships. It's something we're truly passionate about, which is why our group practice is called Center for Strengthening Relationships. While helping you create stronger relationships is our overarching goal, the content we create is shaped by you. The videos you watch, the comments you leave, and the topics you ask for. So tell us, what do you need to grow the relationships in your life? And this includes a better, more loving relationship with yourself, because that's the foundation from which all other relationships flourish. Do you want more videos on attachment, boundaries, self love, and healing? Or are there other topics you'd like for us to explore? We're here to support you. And when you like, share, comment, and subscribe, it not only helps us understand more of what you would like, but it also tells YouTube that this is content worth sharing with more people who need it.
Thank you for watching, and remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together.
Together.